Well, good day, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Well, today I have two of my favorite typewriters in my collection. They're all favorites, actually, at this point, because the other typewriters get jealous, right? Yes, they do. Of course, we know that. Early 1960s, Hermes 3000, and a late 1950s Olympia SM3. This is technically my wife's typewriter. I think she named him Ollie, if I'm not mistaken. And we love our manual typewriters, but one of the things about manual typewriters that you guys may know already is a lot of the rubber parts degrade over time and with use. And because these typewriters are almost as old as I am, and that's pretty darn old, after a period of time you have to address these issues to keep the typewriters in good working condition. Fortunately, we have resources nowadays, and one of those resources is the Reverend Ted Munk, who has created the Typewriter Database, who is reprinting old technical service manuals for a lot of the typewriters, and is now starting a new project, which is enabling us in the typewriter community to create or make our own rubber feet for typewriters. So Ted has pioneered a way of molding new rubber feet for certain typewriters. And let's just take a look here at the Hermes, and these feet down here on the bottom is what we're talking about. The ones on this machine are still there. They're not totally rubbed down to nothing, but they are very, very hard. They're not really providing much grip. And in the case of the Olympia, it has not only the rubber feet on the bottom, and actually these are fairly resilient, but it also has rubber feet on the bottom of the case, which in this particular one are all ground down to almost nothing. And so what Ted has done is figured out a way to mold new rubber feet and out of silicone rubber, and he sent me a kit with parts for both the Hermes and for the Olympia itself and for the Olympia's case feet. So 4 feet for this, 8 feet for this. Let's put these in and see how they work. Stay tuned. Well, when you start out here, you get a kit from Ted, and he has, of course, the 4 feet molded out of silicone rubber, I believe. And then he has a little installation diagram. This is for the Hermes 3000/Media 3. So you basically have 4 feet that you're going to take off these shoulder screws and the little bracket and install it. So I currently have my typewriter sitting atop a cushion because I don't want to place the typewriter against a hard tabletop surface, and you know, it's a little stressful maybe to the parts. So it's always a good idea to use the right size bits when you're going to be replacing these feet. And since I have the Chapman tool set, the bit set for typewriters, I figured I'd just find the right size bit. Well, let's see here. We'll start with this guy right here. All right. There's our shoulder screw. Put it aside. And that old one comes right off. Now there is a piece of metal in the old one that you want to take out. So I'm going to just pry this out with a screwdriver like that. So a flat piece of metal that goes into the new foot, which goes into the metal frame bracket of the foot, and then we reverse our Chapman driver, tighten her down. And the promise of new feet is that they will be nice and grippy, and we will have no need for a typing pad. Ah, nice and snug there. Okay, so let's just repeat this with the other 3 feet. Okay, let's briefly talk about this screw here on this corner. So it did not have the original factory Hermes screws on this one. They had this screw in place, which turned out to be slightly too short for the new feet. Apparently this screw was replaced at some later date, and by then the old feet had already shrunk down, and they fit this replacement screw for the shrunk down old feet. Putting the new foot in, which is more in line with the original thickness of the fresh feet, it wouldn't fit. So what I did here is I went through my selection of metric screws. This is like an M4, I believe. And I found this particular machine screw that is longer than the original, considerably longer. And it works okay, but you have to be careful about the thickness of the head, right? Because the original shoulder screws, the head is very flat. And you want to make sure that when this screw is fully seated down into the machine, you want the head of this screw to be below the foot itself, or should I say above the foot when it's oriented as it should be. You don't want this screw rubbing on your furniture, on your tabletop, and scratching it. So you make sure that that seats below the surface of the foot. Okay, so this is the new screw I'm using for that one foot, and I notice there's a couple burrs on top of it. So I'm just going to kind of file it down, make it a little flatter. I think that will work. I think there's plenty of room there. Well, I gotta say, this is a very smooth granite countertop, and I have a hard time even trying to slide this with the weight of the machine on the feet. So that's pretty cool. And another thing I like is the feet are, of course, green colored to match the keys and the design of the typewriter. Very well done, Reverend Ted. Well, those went on really easy. Of course, my little issue was the one machine screw was not the standard Hermes type, which we dealt with a replacement a little longer. Had to grind down the head of it slightly. So the original gray-colored feet on this Hermes are slightly, they're not totally corroded. I mean, they're not crumbling to dust. They're hard. You can bend them slightly without breaking. So I'll probably keep these only because, I might find use for them in either someone else's machine. Maybe someone else I know gets a Hermes 3000 with the feet a lot worse condition. I can use these. Or maybe I'll get another Hermes 3000. You never know. But I'm going to keep the little instruction manual that Ted printed up. And he's done a nice job, by the way, of printing this little one-sheet instruction. We have another typewriter to do. We have the Olympia SM3, its feet, and the feet on the case. Let's do those. This is the SM3 taken out of its case. The rubber feet are actually squishy, but I think we're going to replace these anyways. And so here are the ones that Ted has made up. Let's get the four that belong to the bottom of the machine. Get them out of the bag. And there are, of course, instructions that Ted has printed. So these are the four for the bottom of the feet of the machine itself. These are the four for the case. We'll set those aside. Okay, so the right way to do this would be probably to take the whole shell of the typewriter off so I can gain access to the little nut that holds the bolt in place. Our second strategy will be to use a pair of curved hemostats and try to hold the nut while we loosen the machine screw. And there is the nut. Yay, team. I'm going to set that aside. And here is the old foot. So we'll take the shoulder screw out of it. And then we will use our trusty little flat blade screwdriver to pry the old bracket off. On the underneath side, there's also another bracket that comes off, and that sits like that on the machine. So I'll set the old foot aside and grab one of the new feet. So the new foot goes on like that. The insert goes in like that. The shoulder screw goes through the inner bracket to the bottom. And then the fun part, will be aligning up the nut like that with the screw. Okay, yay. So I think a pair of curved hemostats is really important, along with having the right size bit for your bolt there. Now let's just do that 3 more times. That's right, 3 more times. So, nice. You know, oops is never something you want to hear when you're in surgery. Fortunately, that's probably the reason why they put you under, so you don't hear oops. Let's see if I can get this lined up here. Okay, that went on a little bit less painfully than the others, so let's do our last one, which is right here. The hemostat. Let's see if I can grab a hold of that nut. There it is. There's the nut. Ooh, look at all the dirt. We don't know what that is. We don't even want to think about it. Just never mind. There. The thumb screw, shoulder screw, the old foot, the inner plate, the new foot, shoulder screw, back onto the bracket. So now, let's see if I can get this figured out here. Kind of angled properly and at a right angle so you can kind of see the nut is centered in the hole, hopefully, and without moving anything. And you also have to hold your mouth just right. And let's see if I can get it. Ah, there it goes. Now we'll put our driver handle nice and tight. Boy, that thing is really grippy. I can't even move it. That is very sweet. Okay, now we're going to try replacing the feet in the bottom of the case itself, and there's a separate set of instructions that Ted provides for that. So the basic thing is you pry off the old feet with a screwdriver. They're going to come off in pieces like this one. You can tell is quite brittle. It's just going to break apart in pieces like that and come out through the bottom in a handful of parts like that, okay? The new feet come in 2 halves, and they fit together like this. And we're going to use some super glue to glue the 2 halves together, so obviously the thicker, squishier part goes on the bottom of the case in the curved slot. And you may have to hold your mouth just right. Well, it feels nice and squishy already. Okay, the trick is the top half has to fit in there, and you have to fill some holes up with glue first. Some super glue is what he recommends. Insert the rubber topper into the foot, being sure that the posts set properly into the 4 holes. Press firmly while the glue sets to ensure a permanent, tight fitment. Repeat for all 4 feet. So I think what I'm going to do is get a clamp that I can probably clamp this together after I put the glue in. Let's see if my glue bottle is dried out or not. Never know about this stuff. You know, these 2 pieces of the foot fit together sort of already, kind of sort of, in terms of being rubbery. This is what I'm looking for. Now the trick is to make sure the posts go in the holes, and this is where you have to hold your mouth just right. It also helps to have some good light when you're doing this. Okay, looks like they're all seated, and as far as a clamp, you can use your hands, or you can get a hardware C-clamp that might give you the ability to clamp it a little bit more efficiently there. sort of sit here, and while you're waiting for your glue to dry, you guys could like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and also go visit Ted Monk's YouTube channel and his Typewriter Database channel while you're at it, while you're waiting for your glue to dry. All right, let's try this now. Very nice. Very solid. Very cool. Well, this was a fun project, and of course it's always good getting a letter from Ted Munk right here in the mail. That's always a pleasure. But more so getting some internet goodies, in this case these kits for replacing the feet. And, you know, Ted's philosophy, I think, all along has been, with his Typewriter Database project and with the technical manuals, the repair Bibles, has been to enable us in the typewriter community to do our own service and keep our machines running. And this is another example of that. No, I did not mold these feet myself this time, but this is kind of a demonstration of how easy it is to replace the feet once you've molded them out of silicone rubber. And I will link down below all the links to Ted's videos and blog articles that he's already published about making these feet, how he makes the molds, the materials he uses, and the technique. And I'll, of course, include a list of all the materials that he does use that he provided for me. So the idea of this is to encourage you guys out there to make your own replacement typewriter feet so that the machines don't slide around on the tabletop, right? And you have a little more cushion, and it just makes it nicer, right? Keep these things in good working order. Well, again, I'm really indebted to Ted for this. His ideas about making the typewriter community more self-sustaining really is a strategic thing that is super important to the typewriter community, and my hat's off to you if I was wearing a hat. But anyways, I wish you guys the best in your pursuits of making your own feet. I'll leave a link to Ted's blog and video channel, and if you have any questions pertaining to how to make these feet, drop him a note as well. But anyways, I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I look forward to seeing you guys continuing to be creative, do good work, stay creative. Have a great day. Bye-bye for now.